There you go. Hello, everyone. Hope everyone is well. I'm just going to give a few more moments to see if anyone else pops on. If you want to grab yourselves a drink or whatever you want to do, then please do. This is going to be roughly 1 hour long. And okay, we'll just get started in 1 minute. So if you want to grab yourselves a drink, please do. Get yourself comfortable. This is your time. Okay, just getting used to the lighting with the change in season. Okay. So welcome everyone. My name is Kelly Turner. I'm founder of Authentically Rise, and I'm a certified life coach. And I pay it forward here. I come here to pay it forward with Life Coach University, and just to make these kind of things, personal development and coaching, accessible to more people. So what we ask for is that then you pay the kindness forward. You can use your imagination, you can use your creativity in any way that you wish. And it's just really to kind of make those ripple effects of kindness in the world, because we need more of that today. So today's webinar is on self-belief. And so take what you want out of it. I've got different kind of case studies for you to kind of reflect, just to kind of understand what self-beliefs are, how they may show up, just to kind of expand your awareness, because the more we expand our awareness, the more consciously we can create our reality, how we can make our habits, our decisions, and everything in between, and how we even feel. So first of all, this is being recorded, so I won't say anyone's names. If you have any comments or any insights or any questions, feel free to pop them into the comments box, and I'll read them out without saying anyone's names in between. Okay, if you see me moving forward, I'm just kind of reading off my other screen as well. Okay, so great to be here. Okay, so I'm just seeing more people have joined. So just to say, this is on self-belief. Everything is I won't say your names. I'll just read out your comments. Interact as much as you want. This is your time. So first, I would like to invite you to, you've come here, you've shown up for yourself, and just allow yourself just to take a few deep breaths and just shake off the day, leave the rest of the day behind, and just come into this moment. So if you want to just breathe in for 3 seconds, hold for 4, and breathe out for 5, and just get in, just come into this moment of time. So breathe in for 3, hold for 4, and breathe out for 5. And this gets us back in our bodies, come back into the present moment, show our bodies this is a calm time. Okay. So, self-belief. So I decided to bring this into this webinar today because our belief systems impact how we think, they feel our thoughts, how we feel, and our actions. So this is an exploratory, so we can kind of just explore and get some perspective, because everything is about perspective. So I want to ask you and see what comes. Yeah, there's no right or wrong. Is to what is a belief in general? What do you think a belief is? And if you want to pop anything in the chat box, if you want to kind of think, please do. What do you think a belief is? Something we believe is true. Yeah. Something that feels true to you. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. So a belief, yeah, exactly what you're saying. So a belief is like a statement of reality based on your values. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So a belief is very much a statement of reality that we believe is true and creates our reality. So belief can be about yourself. It can be about other people. It can be about the world. So when we think of, if we turn that into, we focus on self-belief, I just want to see what you think are some of the most common self-belief things that we may be conscious of or we may be unconscious of. But what do you think are the most common self-beliefs, limiting self-beliefs? Because we can have empowering ones and we can have limiting ones. So what do you think are the most common limiting ones that keep us limited in our choices and keep us limited in our sense of self? I'm not enough. Yeah, yeah. And I'm not enough. There are big, like, people who are on, for us to look out, are extremely successful. Like, you got Vishen Lakhani. There's even people with PhDs, and they think they're still not enough. Most common limiting, that I am not enough. Yeah, yeah, it's really, really common. And one coach that is big on self-beliefs, she has never met anyone without that belief. Usually they not show up. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, so some of the ones that I've jotted down in NLP, a lot of them, they would say, I am not enough. I am not deserving. I am not worthy. And the other ones that I've seen are, I'm a letdown. I'm not important. Money doesn't grow on trees. Have you heard of that one? Mistakes and failures are bad. Do that thing when is good enough. Do or think when that is good enough. Yeah. Do that thing when is good enough. Yeah. It all comes back to that, like, enoughness, doesn't it? And there's so many limiting beliefs out there, and some we'll be aware of, and some of them kind of are in the background, but they are kind of hijacking us. So when we kind of explore, then we can do things differently. So I want to invite you, and it's up to you if you want to partake or not. If you're able to, depending on where you are, if you say some self-limiting beliefs out, so I hear, like, I am not enough is one that is you're all saying. So if you really could say, I am not enough, just notice how that feels, how that sort of sits in the body, how that makes you feel. And just notice what you notice. Yeah. And then maybe say out loud, I am not important. And just notice how that feels. I am not worthy, if you want to say that out loud, and just notice how that feels. And now I'm going to give you something very random. Just say out loud, I am a purple monkey. And just notice how that feels. I am a purple monkey. And just see if anything felt different when you said any of those beliefs and I am a purple monkey. If you don't notice anything, that's okay. Just see if anything felt different. Makes me feel defeated. Whoever the monkey makes me laugh. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So what happens is, when people have used this technique, when we say words that we believe, it will generate a feeling. It will make us feel defeated. It'll make us maybe feel small or not great. But when we say words we don't believe, they don't impact us. They're just words. Yeah, you might laugh like you did. So this is just a kind of way to tune into the body, to understand what may be circulated around that may be kind of impacting how we're living, and maybe boxing us in a bit rather than see what's possible or what else we can kind of create and feel and act and think. So it's just a way to kind of just tune in. What is it that I'm believing? What limiting beliefs are keeping me a little, limited into what is possible? If that makes sense. Okay. So you might be thinking, how are beliefs formed? So even though all those like beliefs that we kind of said, that, they're not kind of empowering, but none of them have been designed to kind of trip us up or to be unkind to us. All these beliefs are formed as a means to protect, to keep us safe, to keep us in survival. They all had a really positive intention to them. And a lot of beliefs kind of are formed when we're children. And a lot of the texts will say a lot of these beliefs tend to get formed between the ages of 0 and 7, when that part of the brain, the subconscious brain, where all the unconscious stuff, all the things that we might not be aware of, are formed. But they would form because we only had, when we were young, we had a limited perception. And when we look out, if something was to happen, we would kind of make it about ourselves and go, oh, okay, how is this defining me? What is it that I'm seeing myself in this situation? And this doesn't mean that maybe as in childhood and things can shape as we get older as well, but a lot of the research will pull you back into childhood. But things can change as we get older, and depends on circumstances that we've been through and stuff as well. But what I want to kind of emphasize, even with children, doesn't mean that you've had a bad childhood. I don't really like using good, bad, but it doesn't mean that. It's just our lens that we had to perceive a situation at the time, if that makes sense. And what happens then, I want to imagine if you've got like a lens of, let's go with I'm not good enough. Yeah. So we can have a lens, and on this lens will be all different stuff like our values, but our beliefs will be there, and past experiences. And then we're looking out into the world on a belief that I am not good enough. So things can kind of happen. And that then, because we've got so many different kind of information coming to us every moment of every time, that then we kind of have to, our brains have to filter stuff, filter things so that we can make sense. So it doesn't, all this sensory information doesn't come overwhelming. And it will look at to kind of affirm those beliefs that we've got. So when we believe things, it doesn't mean it's true. It's just the filter that we've got on at the time, if that makes sense. The life experience from your beliefs, yeah. So yeah, absolutely. So it's how we kind of perceive that life experience. So have you ever kind of met, like, children can grow up in the same family, or people can go through a same kind of situation, but they will perceive things differently, and they'll perceive themselves differently from those situations. You may have noticed that in maybe yourself or with friends. So I am going to bring some kind of things to kind of just unpick this a little bit more, so it kind of even pulls it together a little bit more. But I want to kind of invite you again, because we learn so much more when we experience things. And if I was to say to you, if you could imagine your favorite foods, okay, and I'm just going to kind of imagine a platter, maybe your favorite fruits, or maybe there's chocolate on there with it, and then maybe just juicy melon or juicy mango, and you were to kind of just visualize that and just smell it, just kind of like you can almost taste it because you can smell it. You can maybe pick it up and you can feel it. And I just want to kind of you imagine that right now. And what you may notice, an increase of saliva in your mouth. I know it's happening to me right now. Yeah, yeah, and I can taste in saliva. Yeah, I got it as well. And what the point of this exercise is to show when we believe something and we tell our brain something, even if it's not true, our brains will believe it. But we can change that. Yeah. So, or even all these limiting beliefs, we can change that. And I want to kind of give you a little story. And so this is a real story. Just how to give you a little bit more perspective of how beliefs can come from your life. I gain weight thinking about eating those sweets. so there was this story just gives you some kind of perspective how this can happen. Okay. So there's a coach in Ireland, and he set up this beautiful thing where people tell their last story. So they stand up, and there's so much authenticity when we're vulnerable, when we move away different things about what we feel, maybe shame or regret or guilt, and we just allow our stories to be said. So he's worked with all different people like ourselves, prisoners. It's done all variety of people, and it's been profound. So he's well known in Ireland. And this guy phoned him up and said, I need tickets. I need to bring my teenage 15-year-old son. He needs to come because I'm on a loose end. I'm so stressed. His behavior is off. He's not opening up to me. I don't know what's going on. And I'm just at a lost cause to what to do. So the coach said to him, okay, so how do you think, how is this going to work? And he said, well, I'm just going to tell my son he's got to come because we're going to figure this out, and he's just going to have to come because we're going to need to sort it out. So the coach said to him, well, how did that work for you before when someone told you you have to come? And he said, didn't, because we don't want to do what we want to make our own decisions. So he said, how could you do it differently now? And he said, okay, yeah, actually, he had to say to his son, son, I love you. I'm really worried. I want to help you. I want to support you. And I'm just really hoping you would consider coming to this event so that I can understand better, so that I can give you the support that you need. So the boys sat with it and he went to this event. So when they sat there, they listened to all these different speakers. So one of the speakers spoke about his history of depression and how that looked and how that felt and how he was able to stand on stage and talk his story, even though at times he went into very dark places. And at the end of these 6 speakers, this 15-year-old ran up, and he ran up to the coach and he hugged him. And his dad was a little bit taken back because his 15-year-old son didn't do things like that. And according to him. So the coach just intuitively said, he said, so what was your takeaway? And he said, I am important, and that my problems are okay, and that adults have problems too. And what that boy took from just hearing someone else be vulnerable, that he had been holding all to his problems, believing no one wanted to hear them because his problems weren't important and he didn't feel important. And where that belief came from is that his parents wanted the best for him, but they were always busy. They were always busy working, trying to provide, to cater for everything, the demands of family and the cost of family life. And every time over the years of being within the family, the parents will say, oh, I'm stressed, I'm too busy, I'll have to wait, sometimes on their phones. And just in that situation where the parents were just doing their best, the son, with the ability of his perception at the time, perceived that about himself, that I'm not important. And that kind of built up and really kind of surfaced in his teenage years. So this is just to kind of show how these beliefs can be formed in not in any kind of, his parents wanted the best, but he just perceived it in that kind of way. But his other siblings hadn't, but he did. But then that kind of lens, that belief, was affecting how he felt. It was affecting his thoughts, and it was affecting his actions. He didn't want to speak about his problems. He didn't want to share it with his parents because he thought he wasn't important. He wasn't important enough. Does that make sense? So what I would like you to kind of imagine how this could even show up more is that you're kind of walking down the street. Yeah. Well, actually, the first thing I want to kind of ask you, do you think that boy that I just spoke about, the one who went to watch the speakers, do you think he seen that he was not important? What do you think? Okay. He's seen his parents not show that he was important, okay? Perspective, when you look at things differently, are different. Yeah. And the reason why I ask you that question is often what they have found is often people think they see their beliefs and they see the evidence. But actually, like you say, it's the perception. And often that perception generates a feeling and an emotion, but it's how we're perceiving it. So it's the actuality of it was his parents were just busy and they were trying to do their best. It was the meaning that he put to it that created this belief. So you took away the meaning, the belief wouldn't be there. So when we have these beliefs about things, it's the meaning that creates the belief, not the event itself. And just to put that in a little bit more context, when you imagine you're walking down the street, and someone you know walks past you, but they don't acknowledge you. They just keep walking. So somebody who maybe have a lens on that I'm not important, I'm not enough, they may think they've seen that belief because that person they know hasn't acknowledged them. So yeah, I'm not enough, I'm not important. But in actuality, it's the meaning that we put to the event, not what actually is happening. And this is where it's helpful to kind of, when we maybe feel a little bit sad, or we feel angry, or we feel kind of just upset with somebody, is to check in with yourself. What is it that I believe in right now? Because then we can kind of look at it with more perspective, rather than they hijack us and then we're thinking and we're feeling and then we're acting and then we just fueling it like a cycle going round and round and round from head to body where all the emotions are. And I just want to kind of pull this a little bit more. Okay, is this making sense for everybody? Yeah. Yes. Great. Okay. So this is a real case scenario. So there was a guy, and his house bits, like houses, bits of were kind of falling apart, and he needed somebody to come and do some work on his house. So he arranged it all. Someone was coming along, and they were going to come and do the work in his house. So everything was set up, everything was ready, and the guy didn't turn up. So when he sat with another coach, a different coach, he said, yeah, I was feeling really angry and sad about it. And he was frustration, but frustration is an element of anger. And he was disappointed, and disappointment is an element of sadness. So the emotions really were rage, and they were angry, and he was sad. And the coach said to him, what was he angry and sad about? And he said that he didn't show up and someone didn't make a commitment to him. So the coach asked him, what did it mean they didn't make their commitments to him? What did that mean? And he said, they don't care or respect me. He said, what sort of person doesn't get cared or respected? And he said, someone that's not worthy. So that kind of scenario where someone didn't show up to do the work on his house created a whole big narrative, all coming from this belief that was kind of like in the background and he wasn't aware of. And he was sat with this kind of emotion and is angry and is sad because he had kind of concluded that this was evidence for a belief that he wasn't aware of, that he wasn't worthy. So when we get curious with ourselves, we can start to understand ourselves rather than get kind of pulled away with like the waves of where it's taken us. And we can be much more conscious when we get curious with ourselves. I want to kind of ask you, if you're in that scenario, what are the other reasons why the man may not have shown up to do the work on the house? What are the other reasons? His car could have broken down. Yeah. He could have got sick. Yeah. Job overrun. Yeah. Yeah. Let's read what you. Yeah. The email that he sent or to book it, something didn't go through and it was a misunderstanding. Yeah. Yeah. Things in his life that day stopped him. Yeah, absolutely. And when you hear all these different possibilities of why this guy may not have shown up, for the guy that arranged for him to come to his house, which one of those is the worst one for you to kind of believe is true? Is it the one he drawn, I'm not worthy, or the ones that we've said? Which one would be the worst one to kind of sit with? His or the ones that we've said? His, yeah, okay. His, yeah, his, yeah. So what can happen is our beliefs can take us, and our brain can take us to the worst kind of situation that's really personal to us. And this is why it's really important to grow our awareness so that we can understand ourselves, so then we don't get kind of hijacked by them. And what Buddha has said was, with the minds we create the world. So when we can change these belief systems, which we can do, but we have to bring them into our conscious awareness for that to happen, then everything else begins to change, because we create our beliefs and our beliefs create our reality. So when this guy realized that, it was like, oh, wow. But what I want to ask you, do you think that was the first time that he didn't feel worthy or care or respected? No. No. History. Yeah, absolutely. So for him, yeah, this was just feeding this belief. Yeah, it was just feeding it and feeding it. But what the beauty of it, even though it can be uncomfortable to acknowledge these things, and when then all of us go through these things, yeah, it's just part of the human experience. But when he acknowledged it, then he could start to change things. It was a learning opportunity. And when we come back home to our authenticity, we want to learn, we want to grow. We don't want to get stuck in these habitual cycles that don't serve us anymore. So always see these as a learning opportunity to take your power back and to live more consciously and more authentically. So far, let me just check in. So far, what is landing for you? The beliefs can be powerful. Yeah. Yeah. And always remember they're powerful, but when we become aware of them, they lose their power. Everything can change with awareness. Everything should not be based on my beliefs. Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. When you react, look deeper to see what the real trigger is. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, when we're children, we're so curious. Yeah, I got two young children, and you know, it's always questions. It's always why. and when we bring our own childlike curiosity back into us and we use it, because when we're authentic, we're curious, then we can start to kind of see things differently, change our perspective, not get kind of create our past doesn't become our future. So I don't know if you know this already, but when I say this rewiring, so before we used to think, yeah, you know, we're like this is just how I am, yeah, and there was no room for change. So with neuroscience, what they've now come to realize in the last about 25, 30 years, that we can change, that we're neuroplastic. So with consistency and commitment, that we can create change. And this has been shown in so many cases, even with very elderly ages as well. That is so much power when we kind of become more conscious, to create more a different way of approaching these different things, our beliefs, our triggers, getting more curious, that we can change our rewiring. So I want to kind of invite you, and it's up to you if you want to kind of partake, because I want to kind of to go on the next layer and just see how it lands for you, to grow this awareness. And I just want to tune in, if you can think of it, and it doesn't have to be anything extreme, just something, you know, mild, like the situation we spoke in the last with the guy. He got a bit angry when the guy didn't show up to do his work. Can you think of a situation maybe where you felt a little bit upset, a little bit annoyed, maybe a little bit sad, triggered, whatever words resonate with you? Can you think of a situation where you felt that? Yes. Okay, great. Yes. Okay, great. Yes. So the reason I asked you this, okay, is if you can bring that memory back into your awareness right now. And I want you to kind of gather how a telephone conversation, okay, yeah, anything, yeah. So I want you to I want to help you kind of help grow this awareness even further. So when you were in that memory, if you can pull that memory in your awareness right now, and just sense, did anything change in your body? Did your posture change? Did your shoulders come forward? Did you slouch? Or did you puff out? Did your heart rate change? Did you feel something in your stomach? Or did you feel more tense on your neck? Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, beautiful. And just notice what you notice. Okay, just notice how that situation was communicating and kind of coming forth in your body. And now I want you to feel tightness. Yeah, yeah, constriction. Yeah, that tightness. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Anxious energy affected everything. Okay, okay. And when you say affected everything, what happened to your body posture, or did you notice any kind of changes? And if yeah, okay. And if you noticed any changes, if you did notice any changes, now I want you to kind of imagine, if you notice like that tightness, what is it that you need to feel differently? More energy, but not good energy. Okay. So if you were to kind of listen to your body, yeah, in those moments, what is it that needs? Does it need to move? Does it need to move the energy around? Do you need to kind of sit more upright? Do you need to put your shoulders back? Do you need to do a few more deep breaths in those moments? What is it that your body needs just to feel more empowered in that situation? What would more an empowered state look like to you? And just let your body move in the way that it wants to move. And just notice what you notice. If that feels slightly different, you need to calm down, you stretch out, breathe deeply. Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. And if you the lady that said about the anxious energy, if you tune into your body, you might feel like your body wants to do something with it. You might not want to change your posture. You may want to kind of just do some deep breathing. You may want to um, just kind of like tap your arms, or you may just want to kind of just put yourself in a more empowering stance. And the reason, and just so you're not staying sat in this stage, just allow whatever you need to do your body right now that makes you feel more empowered, and just to see if that feels anything different to you. Just stretch out and breathe deeply. Yeah. Okay. So I just want to invite you to take a few deep breaths. Yeah. Okay. I was sitting, I would have helped to stand up and move around. Calmer, beautiful, beautiful. Okay. Okay. So just to kind of just shake that off a bit, yeah? Just listen to your bodies, do what you want to do, and just take some deep breaths. Yeah, wherever you're sitting or you're standing, just pay attention to your feet, the ground that's always supporting you. Yeah. And just kind of, as you breathe, just bring your attention to the space in between that breath. Yeah, as we breathe into the next moment, there's always a moment to pause before stepping into the next moment. And thank you for partaking. The reason I invited you to do that, because when we experience ourselves, we learn the most. And we always think about, well, I did years ago, that our brain communicated to our body. But what research has shown that our bodies communicate to our brains. And there's research by HeartMaths that have shown actually our heart communicates more to our brain than the other way around. So by becoming aware of your body, when maybe you feel triggered, or maybe when that belief then is kind of hijacking you, when you become aware of how that feels in the body, we have more awareness. And this is what I generally use myself. If you become more aware and go, what's going on here? And then we can become more conscious about, what am I believing to be true? What is it that I need now? What meaning am I putting to this? How can I look at this differently? It gives us that moment to come much more aware and grow that awareness, grow that consciousness up that we all need. But also, by listening to your body and changing your stance, giving yourself what you need, like everything you just done now, your body is communicating differently to your brain. And this all creates different neural connections that happen the more you do it. Does that make sense? Yes. Great. And the reason what this is like what we call kind of embodiment. Always saying count to 10. Yeah, yeah. And the more we can kind of get, there's different words for it. It's kind of perceptual and introceptional. So it's when we become aware of those subtle different energy shifts, those subtle shifts in how we kind of are holding ourselves, that we can use that to our power, because we know the body communicates with the mind. Then we can go, actually, I'm being hijacked here. Actually, what it gives you that pause, like you say, it gives you that pause to kind of tune into, what's my conscious choice here? What is it that I want to create for the next moment, rather than get kind of trapped like that guy who believed that, then all these emotions happened, and this kind of story stuck with him, and he was just feeding this belief unconsciously. So when we become aware of the body, it's just another little alarm kind of systems, but we are accessing a different intelligence that's not often spoken about. And it is those subtle little things. Maybe also to let someone know you're feeling a bit off. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, completely. And sometimes, for example, when I feel kind of fear or excitement, that will feel light. That will feel like popcorn. But when I feel dread, it feels like a weight on me. It's a different feeling. And the more we can come aware, the more then we can kind of tune into our bodies and use that to a really positive way of creating our reality. Yeah, if you tuned in, you're more aware. Absolutely, absolutely. And there's loads of kind of this is kind of somatic intelligence. So there's loads more research going on within the kind of neuroscience field that's showing how the power of this and how we can use this more for our learning and our self-development and things. So absolutely, the more tuned in we are, the better. And it's like that embodiment, when you kind of, if you play a piano or you drive a car or ride a bike, at the beginning you've got to really focus and you've got to really go, okay, what's going on here? And then all of a sudden it becomes embodied. It's in your body, and it becomes, you don't have to think about it. So for my own journey, I've had to kind of really tune in first of all. Okay, take little checks, take little pauses. What is it I'm feeling? um and I still take little pauses now, but now the more I've done that, for me now, I will tune into what I'm feeling, and that feeling will kind of turn my conscious awareness on to what I'm thinking and what meaning I'm creating. So now I'm more in tune to my body. That is like in my alarm system to understand how I'm perceiving my reality. Then I can kind of check in on myself. What meaning am I putting into this? And how else can I look at it? Yeah. So just to kind of round this up a little bit. Okay, so if you find yourself, you've got emotion, yeah, you've got kind of emotion coming up, and you're aware of maybe some beliefs and how you feel when those beliefs show up, how your body changes. When By just taking little check-ins with ourselves and just checking in, how is it? What is it I'm feeling right now? And just want to really tune into your body as well. But the big thing I want to kind of mention is just to kind of just pull this together a little bit more, is when we believe something, it kind of shapes patterns. So that belief will shape thoughts, it will shape emotions and actions. So when we become more aware, we can go, what pattern is happening here? So for example, some people may be in a relationship, for example, and after 3 years, there's this pattern that this relationship just falls apart. So it might be something that they're believing that then is changing their reality, that then allows this relationship to end after 3 years. Or maybe that could be that when you are in a work and you go into maybe a meeting or something, that all of a sudden you don't feel enough. And then that pattern leads to you being a bit small, not speaking out. And that then you kind of hold yourself back. But when we become aware of those patterns, then we can kind of snip them. So if you think belief, thoughts, feelings, actions. So when we become aware, that pattern's happening again, then we can change the narrative. We can change it. We can change our physiology. So if you were doing something you didn't feel enough and you notice, actually I go like this and I slide forward, just communicating, your body communicate with your brain and just go, no, actually when I go my empowering stance, something feels different. My energy feels different. I'm creating a different message to my brain. So yeah, notice your patterns. If you find you're getting stuck and gone, oh my goodness, I in this situation, I'm feeling like no one likes me, or I am feeling I'm not enough, or I'm feeling I am not worthy, or I'm not important, or I'm not valued. It's to kind of pause and go, what are all the other possibilities that I could perceive this? Because always remember, the brain will go to the worst one because it wants to protect you, basically. It wants to keep you safe. Yeah. So when we become more conscious, you can go, okay, what are the other possibilities I can look? How could I go perceive? What are all the possibilities? If I was to ask a friend, what are all the different other things that I could, this situation could be looked at and perceived? And always check in yourself. Am I seeing this? Am I seeing that I am not enough? Am I seeing that I'm not important, or is it the meaning I'm putting to it? And if I didn't put a meaning to it, what is left? And when I answer those questions myself, when there's no meaning, if I don't put a meaning to it, and I just look at it as a situation, maybe consequences to those situations, but it doesn't define me. And then there's nothing left. I can't feed something. There's nothing to, it's not a belief that's keeping me small to believe, because it's just maybe a situation where a boss is off. It's not about me. Or that person that walked past me in the street, they just didn't see me, or they were having a bad day, or they just went in their alone time. They didn't want a conversation. It's not about me. It's not about, it's just that is what happened. There's no meaning to put to it. And then we can choose to respond. How do I want to respond in a way that aligns with my values, that's empowering? Yeah. And just becoming aware how it shows up in the body can just grow our awareness. So the pattern changes, all the possibilities I can perceive this. Am I seeing this? Or is there just a meaning I'm putting to it? And if there's no meaning, what is left? And how can I consciously choose to respond now? The meaning is so important, absolutely. So everything so if you think, I just look at my glasses now, if I had glasses, I'm not enough. And that person walked past me in the street and I know them and they just walk past me. If I want to look for the lens of I'm not good enough, I can interpret that. I can put meaning to it. Oh my goodness, I'm not good enough. They don't want to speak to me. Oh, I'm not important. Yeah, whatever beliefs that are being fed. But if I was to go, actually, what other meaning what other meaning could I put to this? Actually, they just could be having a bad day. Actually, they could have had bad news. They just want time to themselves. They just didn't want to speak. They didn't see me. And I even more, if I didn't put a meaning to it and it's just an event that happened, the guy I know walked past me, then there's nothing else apart from a moment that I don't have to kind of make personal. Does that make sense? If you've got any questions, please ask. Yes. Okay. Yes. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. So we can change our beliefs. It's not always about me. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's just always remember, and if it's just your one takeaway, yeah, just remember, what meaning am I putting to this? How can I look at this? How else could I look at this? It always comes back when we create meaning, then we can be feeding something we don't want to be feeding. Absolutely. And just to kind of share for myself, I had a lot of different limiting beliefs. And I can promise you, when you become aware, when you kind of get tuned in and really aware the power of the body as well, listening to the body, changing our physiology, and just check in on yourself. What meaning am I putting to this? And how else could I look at it? Powerful way to make change. Yeah, yeah. And it's something I use. I know it works. And yeah, and just to kind of just pull this to a close, just to bring that embodiment, because the body remembers everything. Yeah, the body has so much wisdom in it. So just to kind of close this up, I just want to check in with you. What is your one takeaway, first of all? I can change my physiology to change how I feel and what I think. Yeah, like muscle memory. Yeah, check in what meaning I'm creating. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. I like the saying statements out loud to know body changes. Yeah, yeah, beautiful. The body is so powerful. The body remembers everything. It's like our subconscious that we can tune into and to understand ourselves. Change exercise builds a different muscle, absolutely. It builds different neural connections. And the more aware we are, the more we do it, it creates internal change. When we create internal change, everything on the outside changes. Yeah, transformation always happens from the inside. Beautiful. So just to kind of pull this to a close, awareness is the key. Yeah, absolutely. Nothing can change but awareness. Yeah, yeah. So I just want to this just 1 minute, just to use this beautiful body of ours. It's just you guys showed up. Yeah, you came here for yourself. And just allow yourself just to tune in. If you want to put your hand on your heart, if you just want to just focus on your heart, and just allow yourself to pay yourself gratitude for giving this time to yourself, for being here. Because we only create change for showing up for ourselves and putting ourselves first. So just take this moment just to kind of pay gratitude to yourself. And as we kind of come to a close, this is just a kind of reminder that this is a pay it forward for Life Coach University. And we love people to come along and just to kind of pay it by spreading kindness. You can use your imagination, you can use your creativity, whatever it is, just to spread that little bit of kindness to another human being. And we always love to hear what people do. Some people can it's so inspiring actually when we hear how people pay their kindness forward. And that's at hello@lifecoachuniversity.com. Yeah, hello@lifecoachuniversity.com. So we always love to hear people's stories. We have coaches on all throughout the month from around the globe, so you can tune into any webinars that you want. And I'm Kelly Turner. It's been an absolute pleasure. And if there's any feedback, I'm always open to all types of feedback, I can adapt things and grow myself to know what's working and what needs tweak. So I'm always open to it. And thank you for all your time. Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your evenings, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.